They're reinforced with steel and they have high power engines and all of this fancy stuff.
Best demolition derby car, worst demolition derby car.
I've driven a few Toyota Camrys that are just indestructible. Like, you can't kill a Toyota Camry if you wanted to. If you look up their crash safety ratings, they're really high. I look up that sometimes out of curiosity just to see. Nissans do well, Camrys do well. I've never driven a Ford other than the Crown Victoria. That car did really well. It had a lot of front end damage early on, but it still was in the winner's circle at the end. It kept running even with all of that front end damage. Any of the like early 2000s, late 90s cars, I would say in that time range is perfect. They're like really metal, really dense, well taken care of if possible. And then on the other side, like I drove I think it was a Chevy Cavalier, and I snapped my own wheel off in a rut in the mud, just like nobody even hit me. I snapped it off. Anything that's really like newer cars that are mostly made out of plastic and not the metal, I would want to skip.
Like if you're your average demolition derby car, like what does it cost to get it going, to buy it, all that stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
to
so
get it to the derby floor, what's that going to cost you?
it depends on what type of car and then like what type of derby. If you're doing a bone stock derby, which is called chain and bang, where they chain the cars shut and then literally bang them, you can get a pre-ran car sometimes in the like $300 to $400 range, one that's been already crashed but is still drivable. It still works. It just might not have the best steering, or it might have some kind of odd hiccup to it. Fresh cars in the compacts can usually be like 900 to $1,000 if you want like a fresh one. The big cars are where they become really expensive. Like Crown Victorias are ideal for derby driving. People also just love them in general, so they're pretty expensive. They're in the couple $1,000 range. And then there's even a layer of demolition derbies where they're like fully built race cars in the $10,000 ranges, where they're reinforced with steel and they have high power engines and all of this fancy stuff because they're intended to drive more than once, and they're in the really big derbies where you have like heat races and then a main event. So it can get quite expensive, and it can also be quite cheap, just depending on where you end up.